Hello and welcome, this is Eric from AG Racing Central. So you are allured by the anti-gravity racing genre, but you are a bit unsure about which game to pick up. Perhaps you are intimidated by the breathtaking speeds many of these games take place at, or maybe you just don't know which game is a good starting point. If either of these points are true, this video is for you, as I'll give you a few tips about which anti-gravity racing game is a good game to start with. Let's get right into it. The first thing you need to consider is why you want to play an anti-gravity racer. Is it because of the sense of style and attitude, the music, the challenge, playing against other players, or a combination of many of these aspects? Keep all this in mind as I'll now go over a couple of games that might be a good first entry, and also some games you may want to look into if you already have some genre experience. We'll start with some platform exclusives and then move on to multi-platform titles. If you own a PS4 or PS5, want to play an anti-gravity racing game, but you're still thinking about which one to buy first, then stop thinking and go and buy WipeOut Omega Collection. This game is a bundle of WipeOut HD, originally released for PS3 in 2008, its DLC, WipeOut Fury, and an HD remake of WipeOut 2048, released for PlayStation Vita in 2012. Even at full price, which is a little less than $40, this is a great value for your money, as this is essentially 2 games and an expansion in the same package. The game is also on sale on a regular basis and is also part of the Retro Collection of the PlayStation Plus Premium tier. WipeOut HD and Fury has a concept that as a whole is very pure, with a limited amount of unlocks except for the occasional new livery. It's just a campaign with various types of events, running from races and eliminations to speed laps and time trials. In a sense, playing WipeOut HD is a trip back in time to a period where progression, online experience points, modifications and skins weren't really a thing. What is not stuck in the past though is the game's super crisp graphics and impeccable frame rate. This is one of the best looking PS4 games you can play, and it will perform flawlessly on your old base PS4 as well. In the second part of the game, WipeOut 2048, that's originally from 2012, the concept is a bit more modern as you level up and unlock more ships as you progress through the campaign. This is a prequel, so there are fewer teams to choose from, but they all have several different ships, including some prototypes that all have some kind of quirky gimmick. WipeOut 2048 is in itself a terrific racing game as well. There are several reasons why WipeOut Omega Collection is a good first anti-gravity racer. You'll know exactly what the game is about as soon as you hit the throttle in your first race, and there are also a very limited amount of control inputs you need to learn. The pace starts off pretty slow, and even though it does get faster, the general tempo is actually a bit slower than your average AG racer. The heavy focus on combat is also a plus for a first game, as things tend to happen constantly, and the ships are generally never too far apart from each other during a race. The controls are easy to learn, but if you dive deep enough and watch highly skilled players on YouTube, an incredible amount of depth will reveal itself. Completing the campaigns on a lower difficulty is a reasonable challenge, but mastering both games on elite difficulty will definitely put your skills to the test. I could talk about this game forever, but let's just say that WipeOut Omega Collection is a game that you don't want to be missing out on if you're remotely interested in AG racing. And people are still playing it online too. On Nintendo Switch, a console produced by the company that brought us F-Zero, you can actually play a couple of F-Zero games, but unfortunately not the latest one, called F-Zero GX, that was released for the GameCube back in 2003. Yes, that is the latest F-Zero. You can however play the original F-Zero, released on the SNES, and F-Zero X from the N64 era. To do this, you'll need to be subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass, which will give you access to several classic titles, including the F-Zero games I just mentioned. F-Zero Maximum Velocity will actually be released for this service too in the near future. However, if you don't have a nostalgic attachment to any of these titles, they are not really representative of the current state and technological advancements of the AG racing genre. So if you don't already have a Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass subscription, there is another title for the Nintendo Switch that I suggest you look into. That title is Fast RMX, developed by Shinen Multimedia, and it's in many aspects a spiritual successor to the F-Zero games. This game has a fast pace on relatively straight tracks, and quick maneuvering is required to avoid obstacles rather than handling tight corners. Fast RMX also has a very arcadey feel in its gameplay structure, as you pick up colorful orbs that fill your boost meter. There are no weapons in this game whatsoever, but you do put your opponents in a spin if you collide with them while boosting. The arcade focus is further emphasized by the game's gimmick that is a phase shift mechanic. With the press of a button, you shift your exhaust color from blue to orange, which you'll need to do constantly to match your face color with various strips and other structures on the track. If you hit them with the right color activated, you get a significant speed boost and an equally significant slowdown if you have the wrong color activated. This mechanic makes the game stand out a bit among the competition at the same time as it breaks the immersion a bit. There is no story in the campaign, but the ships themselves as well as the tracks have a lot of personality and give the player a sense of being part of a thoroughly created universe. I also want to mention that some may feel like Fast RMX is a bit on the harder side, but I'd say it's still worth checking out for AG enthusiastic Switch owners. The game is also beautiful with a solid 60 FPS frame rate, which is impressive considering the hardware. If you dig deep enough on Steam, you can find a plethora of indie racing games, many featuring anti-gravity vehicles. There is however one title that stands out among them all, and that is Ballistic NG from developer Neognosis. From the art style and vehicle design to the minimalistic graphics and the name of the developer themselves, this game screams late 90s WipeOut from the PlayStation 1 era. While not being shy about the excellent games that are its inspirations, Ballistic NG is not lacking in quality. This is a very polished game with tight controls, terrific track design, and the sense of style that made AG Racing stick out from the crowd in its early days. It's true that the higher difficulties and speed classes are a bit insane, but the campaign eases you into the challenge, making this title a suitable pick for a newcomer, as long as you don't mind the retro-styled look. Also, Ballistic NG embraces its modding community to a large extent. You'll surely find a mod to tweak the game to your liking. There are also a few titles that are suitable AG Racing starting points that are multi-platform. The first game I want to mention is Pacer from R8 Games Limited, consisting partly of former Psygnosis employees, the makers of the original WipeOut games. Pacer tries hard to be an evolution of WipeOut with more modern mechanics like loadouts, unlockable modifications, and a campaign that gives you a bit of story and context in-game rather than relying on you seeking out yourself on the internet. It does perhaps not deliver on everything, as the gameplay is only almost as good as WipeOut. The visual customizations are very limited, and the way you adjust your ship's performance is a bit cumbersome. What is good though is the track design and its visual surroundings, as well as the varied events, as some levels in the campaign challenges you to use specific weapons or steer using only your air brakes, for example. The price is another concern, as when not on sale, this game is more expensive than WipeOut Omega Collection, but as long as you can find it on sale and are willing to look past its flaws, Pacer is a game worth checking out. If you want to try something that's very different from both WipeOut and F-Zero, there's always Redout 2 to check out. I was a bit hesitant to include this game on this list, as the incredible speed you'll find yourself in might be deterring for a new player, but Redout 2 has enough going for it to warrant a spot. Yes, there is always the first Redout that some players may prefer, but the second game is more colorful, has a lot more personalization options, and several more settings to make the game more beginner-friendly. The challenges in the campaign are also not too intimidating in the beginning, and 343, the developer of the game, are also deserving of our support, as they are making a valiant effort of keeping the genre alive with this excellent and stylish title. I have made an entire video about why Redout 2 is a game every racing fan should play, which you'll find in the description. While the titles mentioned so far are the main games that I think are good entry points, there are a few other titles I want to mention that are a bit less heard of. Another multi-platform title is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, a remake of the old N64 game that you can find for quite cheap, and on the PlayStation Store you also have the sequel, Racer's Revenge, available. The developer Superkong has actually made two unique anti-gravity racing games. Quite recently they released Warp Drive, a cel-shaded hovercraft racer with a unique style and equally unique game mechanic where you spend your resources to teleport around the track. Before that, they made the story-driven team racing game Trailblazers with even more unique vehicles and the coloring mechanic to increase you and your teammates' speed. I actually talk quite a bit about Trailblazers and a few other racing games in this video about AG racing games you may not have heard of. Check it out by clicking on the video. Also, please leave a comment if you think there's a particular game I've missed. Thank you for watching. My name is Eric from AG Racing Central, and I'll see you in the next video.